Today is all about us learning about the head of a leader. And my hope is that today will be a start of a bigger process that gives you clarity about what you actually believe about leadership and the influence that you have. You know, Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And our time together today will be a little bit different. And I'll be taking you through what Blanchard and Stoner call the four-part vision. And we'll be working both independently and together, and then creating a draft that I pray gives each one of us a clearer vision for our lives. Now, please be sure that you have a blank piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, as we'll be using these materials throughout our time together. And if you don't have these materials yet, go ahead and just push pause and then get the proper tools for what we're going to be doing together in our group. Now, during our group, you will define and create your personal purpose statement. And this is sometimes considered a mission statement. Sometimes that language is used interchangeably. And this is what sets you apart for God's purpose for your life. And then next we'll develop a picture, followed by listing 3 to 4 values that determine what you stand for. Then lastly, we'll be briefly discussing the power and importance of creating and accomplishing goals. And I want to make all of you to make an active effort to participate and write down your answers as we put together the pieces of your 4-part vision. So I want you to remember that this is a draft, a working copy, your first shot at it. And I have developed my own, as have all of our pastors and directors here at New Break. And I can tell you firsthand that I went through many different drafts. So make sure that you try to answer the questions, even if you feel your answers are maybe incomplete or immature at this point. Don't worry about that. So before we get into the exercise, I want to take a look at Jesus and what his 4-part vision for his disciples was. So first, Jesus expressed the disciples' mission through the great commitment that they responded to when becoming his disciples and becoming fishers of men. And you see that in Matthew 4:19. And Jesus teaches on values continuously through his public ministry, from the Sermon on the Mount teaching, through the teaching of the healing of the many, and then through his response to the crowds of his day, which included the religious Pharisees and the Sadducees, as you know. And on one of these occasions, we see Jesus giving the disciples and the crowd the Great Commission. And you see it in Matthew 28:19 and 20. And Jesus boils down their values into these 2 statements. First, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. And second, love your neighbor as yourself. And we see this at the end of Jesus' ministry. He points to the picture of the future that he has expressed to them before. That's why in Matthew 28:19 through 20, Jesus gives his disciples the Great Commission and says, "Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you guys. And surely I'll be with you always, even to the very end of the age." And notice the clarity that Jesus understood and taught these ideas to those who had ears to hear and eyes to see. In Lead Like Jesus, Ken Blanchard states that leadership begins with a clear vision, and that there are 2 roles involved. In order for a vision to be realized, it must be the right thing carried out in the right way. And Jesus gave the disciples continual clarity as they followed him. And after his death and resurrection, we see the disciples carry out their purpose by living out their values and accomplishing the picture of the future that Jesus left them with, that started the church that we see in Acts chapter 2. So let's start putting together these personal purpose statements. And we'll be using a process by Susan Fowler from the Ken Blanchard Company to develop your personal purpose statement. And we'll answer 3 questions and then merge all the answers together to form a working draft of our mission statement. I just want to remind you guys that this is a draft and that you can always go back and change, erase, and alter it later. So do the best you can and use the pen and paper to capture the answers from this exercise. So let's begin with the very first question. List 2 or 3 of your strongest characteristics that you feel good about, like super good about. And these characteristics should be nouns. For example, I have energy, sense of humor, creativity, etc. and then work on that, and I'll be back in a few minutes to give you the very next question. Now list a few ways that you successfully interact with people. And these will be verbs now. For example, I teach, I love, I plan, I inspire, and so forth. Next, I want you guys to visualize what your perfect world looks like, what people are doing and saying, and write a sentence that captures this scene. For example, my perfect world is a place where people understand their pursuit of real life through an authentic relationship with Jesus. Now go ahead and combine 2 of your nouns in question 1 and then 2 of your verbs from question 2 and your definition of a perfect world from question 3. For example, my purpose is to use my energy and creativity to inspire and teach people to understand their pursuit of real life through an authentic relationship with Jesus. Well, congratulations. You now have a rough draft of a personal purpose statement. And I want to encourage you to read these to each other and help one another refine them and craft them until it truly reflects your passion and your purpose. And while this might take some time, it is worth it. And once it's finished, you might find yourself making adjustments through the years to them. And once you've invested more time and really have a statement that you love, find places where you can put it in front of you and memorize it so that it becomes one of the filters you use to discern the direction in life that you're going in. And then next, we're going to look at values. Blanchard defines values as the non-negotiable principles that define the character in a leader. So take a few minutes and think about what you personally value day in and day out. These are areas of your character that make you, you. For example, I value fun, courage, innovation, loyalty, freedom, quality, love. And go ahead and write down 4 to 5 of those values that are the most important to you. Now that you have a rough draft of your personal values, I want you to put each value through the following exercise. Write down the following. I value blank. I will know I am living by this value when I blank. I want you to do this for all of the 4 to 5 values. An example would be, I value influence. I will know that I'm living by this value when people follow and their lives are changed. So go ahead and get started, and this will take you a few moments. Now that you guys have a rough draft of your purpose statement and then your values are in place, we have two last components to discuss of the four-part vision. So the next piece is forming a couple sentences that capture the picture of your future. Like your picture of the future can read far into the future, kind of like a target at a given place in time. So for our purposes, let's go ahead and say this picture of the future is like 10 years from now. So in a couple of sentences, describe your picture of the future. What would life look like 10 years from now if you were living out your God-centered purpose, strengthening your values, and then meeting your goals? The last part of the four-part vision that I want to touch upon today is the value of having goals. In 1981, the November issue of Management Review, a man named George Duran published an article that introduced people to the idea of setting SMART goals. And this acronym has become a totally commonly held way for people to clearly state and then achieve their goals for like the past 3 decades. And the SMART letters stand for, the S stands for specific, where you target a specific area for improvement. The M is for measurable, where you quantify or at least suggest an indicator of progress. And then the A is for attainable. You specify who will do it. The R is for realistic, where you state what results can realistically be achieved given available resources. And then the T stands for time-related, where you specify when the results can be achieved. So as you start to hone in on a final version of your picture of the future, your purpose statement, and then your values, begin crafting goals that come alongside and adhere to the SMART model of goal setting. Now, I know we did not have a lot of opportunity to interact as a group this week, but that will definitely change next week as we venture into the habits of a leader, which is so crucial. So until we meet again, I want to have our facilitators split you into groups of 2 or 3, and guys with guys and gals with gals, and then pray through the picture of the future and your purpose statement and the values that you've identified today. And I want to challenge you to dig deeper this week by setting 2 SMART goals that lead to your picture of the future, and review and tweak your picture of the future, your purpose statement, and your values. Remember, it's kind of a work in progress. And if you want to go even further with this, I would challenge you to go through this same process with your family. Now, next Life Group quarter, you may want to look into participating in a Lead Your Family Like Jesus group. That's what we call it, Lead Your Family Like Jesus. And I can't wait to see all of you next week as we continue to learn how to actually lead like Jesus.